Hey guys, we do a lot of fun stuff on these videos and with racing and stuff, but there are some serious issues going on in this country, in the whole world that people aren't aware of. One of the big things is military suicides from war veterans. You know, soldiers are coming back to this country from being in war and stuff, and people aren't aware of their problems. Their mental, you know, even me being a civilian, I can't imagine what goes on in a soldier's head that has seen and done some of the things that these soldiers do. And this is Bobby Gray here, and he can tell you some firsthand experiences on actually how it actually works and how bad it is. 22 military suicides a day in this country. 22 a day. That's 8,000 suicides a year from soldiers who have been in a war and came home. You know, that's more deaths than the war in Iraq and Afghanistan have collected from American soldiers who were in the war. So, you know, it's hard to think about how many soldiers go to war and come home and you think they're okay and they still don't make it. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is one of the big things that these soldiers are having to fight. And you know, this is Bobby's a real big part of our race team. He's one of our great friends, but he also does our videos. He's a little nervous right now because he's usually on the camera side of this, so you may have to bear with him a little bit. He's on the video side this time. But Bobby's going to tell you a little bit about just a little bit about it, and just some of the stuff he's told me. It'll give you cold chills, and it'll really make you think what these guys do, and when you think about what these guys have done for this country. See, I mean, I get cold chills just thinking about it. But I'm gonna let you hear Bobby's story. I could probably tell it, but you know, I don't want to mess it up. I'd rather you hear straight from Bobby, and to hear actually what these soldiers go through, even when they come home and even when they're safe back with their family and their friends. And you know, you never really know what's going through a guy's mind. Only he does. And some of the soldiers out there have some problems that they're not even aware of. So I'm gonna let Bobby here touch on some things, and maybe you take this stuff to heart, and let's see if we can't stop this problem we got going on.
All right, hey guys, I joined the Marines in December of 2003. Real quick background story on that. 9/11 happened when I was a senior. I graduated in 2002. I knew then that I wanted to do something military related. My grandfather was a Marine. I have other family members in the military, but kind of knew I wanted to be a Marine, and it didn't take much of influence of him to convince me to join the Marine Corps. I had other things going on where I thought I was going to go to a NASCAR Technical Institute down here in Mooresville, and I was actually obligated to go there, but I was harping on the military real bad. And I had a couple other things in Pennsylvania, where I'm from originally, hold me back to where I didn't go to NTI, and I kind of waited to join the military. So I waited about a year and a half, did a little working at Sheets, third shift in Pennsylvania. And so 19 rolled around, turned 19, and I was ready to go. So I actually went and signed the papers August 20th of 2003, and I went to boot camp December 15th, 2003, right before Christmas. Probably the dumbest thing to do is, as far as missing family and going into a world like that. So like I said, I joined the Marines in 2003. I went artillery. I didn't know if I wanted to be artillery or infantry. I just told the recruiter, put it in his hands, and went open contract, and I got artillery. But anyways, I ended up going to Sierra Battery, 5th Battalion, 10th Marines in Camp Lejeune. I joined them July 6th or 7th of 2004. When I got there, the day I come to the unit, they told me that I was going to Iraq in September. So I was like, well, this is what I signed up for. I joined post 9/11. This is what I signed up for. I was like, I'm ready to go. I want to do this. So we went to Iraq in September. I mean, PFC, 19 years old. I mean, just not a clue in the world, which that's what we all do. So We got there in September. I mean, it was just your normal deployment, you know, whatever, just patrols. We were out on a FOB called Erbil, Iraq. It's on the Iraqi-Jordanian border, where our job was really technically customs police and maybe artillery support if they'd ever call us and actually have us shoot artillery. So we just did random patrols, sat on a FOB, a base the size of, well, most people can reference the Bowman Gray Stadium. As far as the actual track, it's not much bigger than that, surrounded by a city, and it was our job to guard the border. So we did that every day. We had some things happen, and I'll touch on it here in a second. And I went through the deployment, and I was all for it. We had a couple IEDs happen in September, and you know, coming in October. Not stuff that I really thought too much about. You know, we didn't have anybody really get hurt. A couple close friends get hurt. You know, it's just, but it is what it is. That was my thought process. One of the bigger incidents in Iraq, it was December 3rd, 2004. We were sitting there. I was sitting there in a chow hall, no bigger than this race shop. There's me and 3 other guys sitting there eating, and I still remember what we were eating. We were eating boneless pork ribs with rice, and I don't know why I remember that. It's just one of those things that stick in my head. We were just a normal routine, you know, routine type day. We heard some small fire, M16 fire on the back gate, and we're sitting there eating, and we all get up. We're like, oh, here we go, something's happening. We get up, and we probably didn't make it 5 or 6 steps out the little hallway, and the BBIED truck bomb drove through our back gate and detonated inside the gate. Didn't know at the time how bad anything was. We just kind of, you know, it is what it is. We got to react to it. It's our job. I come outside. I didn't have any of my gear on. We're in a chow hall. I just ran, really. I didn't know what else to do. I went and ran to where my sergeant was, and my bell was kind of rung. I didn't know really what was going on, and the guys behind me were right there behind me. We all run out, and I looked back and realized that a couple of guys, I was like, I knew they were hurt, but not serious. And I had blood all down my side of my arm, and I was like, oh crap, like, what happened? And I knew, I could feel that it wasn't mine, but I didn't know whose it was. And so a few moments pass, and you can hear the chaos behind, you know, outside, and we knew something was wrong. Something was wrong, and sorry, that there was going to be casualties. We just didn't know how bad. We come out, my gunnery sergeant come and grab me, and he's like, "Hey, you know, we gotta react. We got some Marines that are down." We ran outside the wire to go get one of the casualties, and looking at him right away, I knew it wasn't good. I mean, you could see the look in his eyes, and we were trying to put him. I think we had a poncho, and we were trying to roll him over. And looking at him, I knew we were in trouble, and it didn't really. I mean, it just adrenaline is kicking in at that point. By the time that we brought him into the inside the wire, because he was there outside the gate, just outside the gate, outside the wire, doing position improvements. I mean, just stuff we do every day. I'm always trying to fortify your fort, your base, your fob, and just trying to stay as safe as you can. And we don't ever think anything happened like that. We bring him in, and within moments, he had passed on. He had died from his injuries. And at that point, I thought that was the only one as far as being that bad off. A couple 30 seconds later, after myself, gunnery sergeant, a few of the Marines had pulled this Marine inside the wire, they had brought another one in. And I'm not gonna go on the names, but he was missing from the waist down, and at that point, our corpsman and a few of our other Marines were talking to him and trying to save his life. And I just remember standing there looking down like, wow, like this is really happening right now. And I mean, he knew what was going on. He was talking, he was coherent for a while, and he knew what was happening. And our corpsmen, our other Marines, they did everything they could to try to save him. And I mean, it just, they couldn't do nothing for him. But I can just still look right now as I look at the ground and picture him and hear his screams of pain in my head. That just, I mean, it just tears me up now. I mean, I just thought that's what it is, that's war. And he ended up, he died shortly later. Come home in March, fast forward real quick. Come home in March, you know, did our briefings, you know, whatever. Come home, and actually my wife now, I met her, and we really hurried up and got engaged and got married. And I was just my normal self, thought everything was fine. When I realized something was, well, I want to say when I realized, I had an incident. We were driving to Pennsylvania. We stopped in DC at a gas station. And I was sitting there pumping gas, you know, just pumping gas at a gas station. But I could smell the diesel fuel. And to go back to what happened in Iraq, when we got blown up by that IED for days, you could smell the diesel fuel, and just all sorts of other stuff. I mean, just the smell of death and diesel fuel. I mean, you can smell it for days, and it's just something you'll never forget. Back to the gas station. I was sitting there pumping gas, just, you know, whatever, just standing there pumping gas, and I smelled the diesel fuel, and I knew right away. Like, it instantly reminded me of what happened. But I was just like, you know, it is what it is. You know, you're a big, bad, tough Marine. You're not supposed to be, you know, worried about this kind of stuff. But the smell triggered something in my head, and I had to get out of that gas station. I never paid for gas. I literally drove off. But in the parking lot before I left, I was screaming at everybody in profanity to get the hell out of here, in an easy term, and was freaking out. And I thought if I didn't get out there right then and there, I thought I was going to die. I got in the car. We were probably, and anyone that made the trip on 95 from DC to Baltimore, know that's a decent amount of, you know, driving. And that was probably about 25 minutes before I actually looked at my wife, or girlfriend at the time, and was actually calm enough to tell her that, you know, I really thought I was going to die there, and that was it. After that, come back home, back to Lejeune. I had never got help. Thought, you know, it is what it is. PTSD is only for people that want to get out of the military or draw a government paycheck for the rest of their life, some sort of a crutch in life. And that's my view of it, and I never got help. So went on. I didn't have any more deployments as far as combat deployments after that. Got out of the Marines December of 2007, come home to moved to Thomasville, North Carolina with my wife, and went on about my normal civilian life. In July or August of 2008, I got into an argument with my family members, and the person said some stuff that a family member shouldn't say to another family member. I had a fit of rage and actually got real physical with the person, and was actually going to do some real physical harm, and I tried to stop myself, but I couldn't do it. And next thing I remember, I was sitting there with my hands around her throat, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously, what are you doing? And I kind of took a step back, and I was like, wow. And like, I've never had that problem. I was 23 at that point, and just whatever. So, but my thought is, I'm fine. That person just made me mad, and that's me reacting aggressively, and didn't seek any help and never got any help. Nothing. That was 2008. Since 2008, I kind of, worked in a normal job, had a supervisor job at a distribution center. Living to my civilian, not living to my civilian potential, I kind of thought. It's just, I didn't feel the pride or sense. It's just a civilian job, 9 to 5, getting through life job. It is what it is. I'm enjoying other things outside the military. Kind of just let it go, and I guess over time I just let things really go as far as my physical well-being. Got real lazy, lost motivation with a lot of stuff, but just thought, hey, that's just me being lazy and doing what I want and not thinking anything of it. And my wife had made comment. She's like, something's wrong with you, Bobby. You're not yourself. You're not the Bobby that I remember. You're just not yourself. Something's wrong. I'm like, be quiet. Nothing's wrong. It's just, it is what it is. I'm just, not happy. And it just went on from there. And I say 2012, I really let things start getting real bad. I was just a bad person. I was not happy with anything, marriage, work, most friends, family members, just hated everything. Just let everything go to crap. We go to May of last year. I was at work, just a normal, it was Memorial Day. We had to work Memorial Day. I got into a big argument with my wife, and I don't actually remember going to work Monday morning to work. Sunday, I remember everything. Sunday night, I was actually sitting with this guy at a cookout, and to him and everybody there, I was myself. I was the same Bobby that they see every single day, and just myself. And went home, watched the end of a Coca-Cola 600 race, and next morning woke up and went to work. I do not remember going to work. I do not remember anything. But what happened Monday is I come home from work. I was fighting my wife all day, and I was sitting there arguing with her, and she said I walked out of the house, and she didn't think anything of it. She didn't know anything what was going on, but my phone, I don't know if I called her or I pocket dialed her or whatever, but she heard something on my phone and she started looking for me. To fast forward a little bit, my next memory, besides that Sunday night, was me waking up in an intensive care unit, looking over to my right, and seeing a woman in the middle of the night, mangled legs and feet, and I was like, oh man, we're in a car accident. I was like, no, okay, I'm alive, but we're in a car accident, and that's my wife. And I was sedated that I didn't know. Well, the next morning I come to, and my wife's standing there above me and tells me that I attempted suicide. I hung myself in the backyard with an extension cord. And she screamed, and a neighbor heard her screaming, and he come over and cut me out of the tree. I don't remember it. I don't know how I got there, because up until that day, I never thought of suicide. Never got help, never thought anything was wrong with me. And then I woke up, and even that morning she told me that I attempted suicide, I still didn't believe her. I did not believe her. I was like, there's no way that's me. Well, I'm in a neck brace. Here it is. That was May 27th of last year. When I woke up, I believe it was June 8th or June 9th, so I was in a coma for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And here I thought it could have been that next day. I didn't know. When I got up and looked in the mirror, I could see where the scab had been across my throat from where I hung myself. So obviously I knew that I had done what I thought I would never do. And it's just crazy thinking. But I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. After I got out of the hospital, I had to go down to the Salisbury VA and spent a few days there in the psych ward, the mental health ward, and I just remember being there that night and hearing people in the hallways, that you're typical of what you think you hear at a mental hospital and what you hear. I was like, this isn't me. I was like, this is not me. And just sitting there and just feeling so, I just still in disbelief, I guess. So I got out of the hospital, I believe it was June 13th or 14th, I actually come home, and the next 6 or 7 months I got a different job. I started trying to do everything right in my life, but still inside was fighting, the demons, thinking, you did this, and I didn't want to help. I didn't want to do anything. I kind of forced the help on me by attempting suicide. So I started going to the VA once a week, talking to counselors and getting the help that I really was just doing it really because that's what, I guess that was just the right thing to do for people's sanity and to think that I'm doing the right thing, and I really didn't want to do it. But then it started sinking in, like, you got to own up to this and get rid of the embarrassment of doing it, but it took so long. This was probably January, February this year. I actually started not feeling ashamed and actually started talking to people a lot more about it outside of my circle. That's why even friends I work with and just other people. But I still hadn't really got the help or even really took it serious until earlier this year when I was like, you know, I want to do good for my wife. I want to do good for my friends. I want to do good for my family. And I mean, I seen pictures of my little brother holding my hand when I was in a coma. And it just was like, you know, I remember when 9/11 happened, seeing him 10 years old crying on the couch. And then I would see a picture like that and just, I let myself down and my standards and let my friends down. And it's just, that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how I plan my life. But things happen. And especially when you ignore warning signs that are blatantly there, but you just think that PTSD it's not real, it's not you, it's just a metaphor in someone's head, but it's real, obviously. I wouldn't be sitting here doing this if it wasn't a real issue. But since then, since I've been out of the hospital, it'll be a year Tuesday since my accident, and I turned 30 Saturday. I mean, that's a big, I made 30 years old. I didn't think I'd, 368 days ago, I've been like, yeah, I would have made 30. But a year ago, May 27th, no. I mean, my wife had to give me CPR and save my life before I went to the hospital in the backyard. I shouldn't be here, but I am, and I'm proud, and honestly, I'm so thankful I'm alive.
So to me, it takes more guts to admit you need help and to get help and to not let your pride stand in the way and to sit in front of a camera and or even to tell a friend about, like Bobby has his story, about trying to commit suicide and not sure why, and it takes more guts to do this or to get help than it does to go to Iraq and fight in a war. So when your pride feels like, you know, I'm a bad, tough soldier and I'll fight in Iraq, you really want to be tough is stand up and say, I need help. I don't want to be a statistic. I need to take care of myself and make sure that I don't go down the road that Bobby went down, because we almost lost Bobby. And there are, how many did we say, 22 a day?
22 a day
that are lost, that didn't get blessed like Bobby did and make it through a suicide attempt. 8,000 soldiers a year that have already come home from fighting, who are supposed to be at home with their families and safe. Those are the soldiers we're trying to save now. So if you want, just don't let your pride stand in the way. And I know, like I said earlier, everybody's got friends or family or somebody they know who is a war veteran. Look for the signs, because they may not know they need help. Bobby obviously didn't know he needed help. We didn't know Bobby needed help. And it makes you feel like, could I have done something more? You know, should I have been looking for the signs? I thought Bobby was great. I thought he was normal. I thought, you know, not that he's not normal, but sorry, Bobby.
That's all right.
But, you know, you think, man, this guy's really tough. You know, he fought the war. He's seen people get blown up. He's shot at people. He's been shot at. You know, that's amazing. That's awesome. But you don't take into consideration what it does to him mentally. You know, I just can't imagine, you know, waking up in the middle of the night, or like he said earlier, it really gave me cold chills when Bobby said, just to look at the ground right now and I can see exactly what I saw that night, that my friend was missing half of his body. To remember what he ate that night, that people he knew that got blown up, or that Bobby could have been out there and it could have been him that got blown up. And to see your friends not make it home, and you know, it's just, we got to take care of these soldiers for what they put themselves through and what they've done for us, for our country as Americans. We really need to take care of these people, because like I said, they have come home, they are safe, and we need to keep them safe.
With that said, I just want to encourage any family member, any friend, any military veteran to do not ignore the warning signs and get help. And there's nothing to be embarrassed over. I mean, I fought the embarrassment, and if I didn't feel embarrassed anymore or ashamed, I wouldn't be sharing my story with y'all right now. So go ahead and get the help and throw the pride to the side and get help.